The Knights Templar were an elite military order founded in 1118 by Bernard of Clairvaux, a French abbot, to defend pilgrims on their way to the Holy Land. But over time, they became one of the most feared fighting forces in medieval Europe. They fought in many famous battles, including the Battle of Lincoln in 1217, the Siege of Acre in 1291, and the Battle of Tours in 732. And during these battles, they used strategies that were so incredible, they actually changed the outcome of the war. Welcome back to the channel. Today we will take a look at 3 incredible strategies of the Knights Templar that actually changed wars. Make sure to watch until the end, because the last one will surprise you. So let's get started. In this video we will start with some general information about the Knights Templar before diving into their incredible strategies. The full name of the Knights Templar was the Order of the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ and of the Temple of Solomon. It was commonly known as the Knights Templar. The order was founded in 1118 by Bernard of Clairvaux, a French abbot who was concerned for the safety of pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. He asked the Pope at the time, Pascal II, to create a holy order that would protect pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem. The order would be called the Knights Templar. Templars were not only fierce fighters, but also devout Christians. They took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, and they followed a strict code of conduct. In addition to being excellent fighters, Templars were also supposed to be pious and ascetic. They lived according to a strict rule and were forbidden from engaging in worldly pleasures such as alcohol, gambling, or women. However, it was inevitable that sometimes Templars did break the rules. So now let's see 3 incredible strategies of the Knights Templar that actually changed wars. Number 1. Unlocking new tactics. During the Siege of Acre in 1291, the Knights Templar played a crucial role in the defense of the city against the invading Mamluk army. Although the Templars were outnumbered, they were able to hold off the enemy and buy time for the rest of the Christian forces to regroup. One key tactic that the Templars used during the siege was the interlocking shield wall. This formation consisted of 2 parallel lines of soldiers with their shields facing outward. When attacked, the soldiers would form a tight defensive unit that was extremely difficult for the enemy to penetrate. By using this tactic, the Templars were able to withstand the initial assaults of the Mamluk army and prevent them from entering the city. Another important contribution of the Templars to medieval military tactics was the use of specialized units. In addition to the infantry, the order also had units of archers and artillery. These units were trained to perform specific tasks and were deployed accordingly during battle. For example, the archers were responsible for shooting down the enemy's horses and disrupting their formations, while the artillery units bombarded the enemy's positions with missiles. This specialization allowed the Templars to be more effective in battle and adapt to different situations. However, it wasn't just their tactical skills that made the Templars so effective. Their psychological impact on the battlefield was also significant. The Templars were known for their bravery and their willingness to fight to the death. This made them an intimidating force to the enemy, and often led to the enemy losing morale before the battle even began. In addition, the Templars' religious zeal gave them a sense of purpose and determination that was difficult for the enemy to match. This combination of tactical skill and psychological impact made the Templars a formidable fighting force and contributed to their success in battle. Although the Templars eventually lost the Siege of Acre, their contribution to the defense of the city and their innovative tactics would become legendary. The lessons learned during the siege and other conflicts would influence military thinking for centuries to come. Number 2. Mastering the art of fortifications. Templars were heavily involved in the construction and defense of castles and fortifications across Europe during the Middle Ages. Their expertise in this area was so well known that they were often called upon to help defend cities under siege. During the Siege of Lincoln in 1217, the Templars were called in to help defend the city, which was under attack by King John of England. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, the Templars held the city for 2 weeks, allowing the royal family to escape and the situation to be resolved diplomatically. Templars' expertise in fortification and siege warfare was not limited to England. They were involved in many other conflicts across Europe, including the Siege of Acre in 1291, where they helped defend the city against the invading Muslim forces. To master the art of fortifications, Templars relied on a combination of practical experience and theoretical knowledge. Many Templars were trained in engineering and mathematics, which they used to design and build fortifications. They also studied the works of Roman and Arabic engineers, learning from their techniques and innovations. This combination of theory and practice allowed the Templars to develop sophisticated fortifications that were able to withstand the attacks of even the most powerful enemies. One of the most important aspects of Templar fortifications was the use of new materials and techniques. They were among the first to use brick and stone instead of wood in the construction of towers and walls. This made the fortifications more resistant to the attacks of the enemy and prolonged the resistance of the cities they defended. Templars also developed new siege engines and weapons, such as the trebuchet and the battering ram, which were used to attack enemy fortifications and break through their defenses. In addition, they used chemical weapons such as boiling oil and sulfur to defend their own fortifications and prevent the enemy from entering the city. It is important to note that the Templar involvement in siege warfare was not limited to simply building fortifications. They were also involved in the planning and execution of attacks against enemy forces. Templars were experts in reconnaissance and intelligence gathering, and they often conducted raids and ambushes against enemy supply lines and communication routes. This contributed to the weakening of the enemy and made it easier to capture the city. In conclusion, the Templars' expertise in fortifications and siege warfare was a critical factor in their ability to defend cities and conduct military operations during the Middle Ages. Their skills in engineering, mathematics, and military strategy, combined with their bravery and determination, made them an invaluable asset to any force they joined. Number 3. Creating psychological warfare. During the Battle of Tours in 732, the Frankish army, aided by the Knights Templar, faced off against the Umayyad Caliphate in what would become a pivotal moment in European history. While the battle itself was intense and hard-fought, the Templars' contribution to the victory went beyond brute force. They understood the power of psychological warfare and used it effectively to demoralize the enemy and boost their own forces. Templars were deeply religious men who saw themselves as instruments of God's will. They believed that they were fighting for a holy cause and that their mission was to stop the spread of Islam into Europe. This religious fervor gave them a sense of purpose and determination that was hard to match. Before going into battle, Templars would often engage in rituals and ceremonies designed to invoke the power of God and give them strength. They would pray together, confess their sins, and receive the last sacraments. These rituals not only helped the Templars focus their minds on the task at hand, but also served to intimidate their opponents. The sight of heavily armed knights making solemn gestures before battle was enough to strike fear into the hearts of many. In addition to their religious practices, the Templars also used psychological tactics to gain the upper hand in battle. They were known for their ability to inspire terror in their enemies by appearing suddenly and unexpectedly in battle. They would often launch surprise attacks that caught their opponents off guard, and they would fight with a ferocity that was unnerving to behold. The Templars also used propaganda and rumor to weaken the enemy's morale. They spread rumors of their own strength and invincibility, and they exaggerated the power of the Frankish king, Charles Martel, whom they were supporting in the battle. These rumors often spread through word of mouth and were carried by merchants and travelers who had encountered the Templars in battle or on their travels. The Templars also used intimidation tactics to break the enemy's will to fight. They would threaten to kill prisoners unless they surrendered, and they would demand that cities surrender without a fight. If the city refused, the Templars would lay siege to it and starve it into submission. While the use of psychological warfare may seem underhanded to modern audiences, it was a common practice during the Middle Ages. In fact, it was so common that there were even treatises written on the subject. The Templars were simply one of the first groups to make effective use of these tactics. In the case of the Battle of Tours, the psychological warfare employed by the Templars likely played a significant role in the Frankish victory. The combination of their religious zeal, their reputation for brutality, and their willingness to use any means necessary to achieve their goals made them a formidable force on the battlefield. The very sight of the Templars with their strange rituals and terrifying armor was enough to strike fear into the hearts of their opponents, giving the Franks a psychological edge that may have been just as important as their military superiority. In conclusion, the Knights Templar were an enigmatic and controversial order of medieval monks/soldiers who played a significant role in European history. From their humble beginnings as a small band of pilgrims' protectors, they evolved into a powerful military force that was feared by their enemies and respected by their allies. Their unique tactics, engineering skills, and psychological warfare strategies made them a formidable fighting force that left an indelible mark on the medieval world. Even after their dissolution in the early 14th century, the legend of the Knights Templar continued to live on in books, movies, and popular culture. They remain an iconic symbol of the medieval period and a reminder of the power of faith, courage, and discipline. What do you think? Which strategy of the Knights Templar surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our videos.